Welcome to Crazy Gamer Models. I am the Crazy Gamer and I do models. Today is going to be part 1 of the update for my US Navy Type 2 LST-1 class from AFV Models, along with the Photo Etch upgrade kit from Infini Models. But as always, I like to start with a little bit of history of the ship. 1940 saw the end of battle in northern France following the Dunkirk retreat. During the Dunkirk evacuation, England mobilized civilian vessels of all variants and within 9 days transferred more than 800,000 British, French, and Belgian troops of the continent of Europe. Due to the shallow coastal waters of Dunkirk, the Royal Navy's transport ships weren't able to dock, resulting in the loss of 8 to 10 divisions worth of heavy equipment. This loss caused a severe shortage of ground equipment during the Battle of Britain. Based on the lessons learned in Dunkirk, the Royal Navy realized they needed a new type of transport vessel that could successfully load and unload heavy equipment in a less facilitated port or shallow waters. The Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, who was one of the first Lord of Admiralty, senior advisor and political head of the British Royal Navy, suggested specifications for the new vessel which had to be met. Unfortunately, the British shipbuilding industry was focused on producing battleships and lacked the capacity to produce such vessels. Hence, in December of 1940, Britain employed 3 tankers from Venezuela. The ships were modified by removing the oil tanks, installation of bow doors, a ramp, and defensive armaments. The modified ships were given the name LST-1 and became the earliest tank landing ships for the Royal Navy. In November of 1941, representatives from the Royal Navy contacted the Bureau of Ships within the United States Navy with a request for the tank landing ship capable of crossing the Atlantic that could also be acquired through the existing military assistance program. After a few days later, the Bureau of Ships completed a rough draft of a design that incorporated a box-like hull with a flat bottom. The craft was capable of fulfilling the requirements of both ocean crossings and breaching operations. A heavy chain and reel installed on the stern of the ship would be capable of reeling the beached LST back into the water. During landing operations, furthermore, the design would be able to remain afloat even when its bow doors open due to watertight compartments. Most of the shipyards on the coast of the United States were occupied with the production of larger ships. Productions of the LST, therefore, had to be allocated to production facilities along inland rivers. LSTs produced in Neville Island, Pittsburgh, were named LST-2. A total of 3 sub-variants were produced. The very first production, LST-1, was delivered to the Navy in December of 1942. The LST-1 was capable of carrying 4,080 tons of supplies, cruised at 12 knots, and had an elevator for transferring goods between the lower and upper decks. A total of 390 units were produced, of which 104 were transferred to the British Royal Navy and the Royal Hellenic Navy through the U.S. Lend-Lease program. So that is a brief history on the LST that we're building. It is a U.S. Navy ship, but they built them for the British Royal Navy, and we also used them to land and things like that. Also, I believe they were used in Korea also. So that is covering that, and now we are going to get on to the build. Okay, let's get into this build. As you can see on the bench, little different camera angle, we are working on the LST still. You saw my intro on that. So what I have on the bench is some different parts, and I should start with the overhead camera. So I know it's a little bit dark, guys. I'm sorry about that. I'm working on getting better lighting. I don't know why it's so dark. just going to change a setting here real quick. I know I'm bumping the camera. Let's see if that is... Yeah, that's a little bit better. Okay, sorry about having to change that in the middle of the video. I apologize for that. Alright, so we are on step 1, and I was mistaken. There is some photo etch from the detailing kit that had to be installed on that. So it was this part right here. It was this elevator, and it is now installed on this section in here. It was pretty simple. I used micro crystal clear to glue it down, and I bent the angles with just my bending pliers here, cheapy bending pliers. I didn't get out the photo etch bender for it, and it matched up pretty well. There's a little bit of extra on this side, but it looks good. So I have this much of this inner hall for the deck of the vehicles, where the vehicles are stored, and I just have this C21 piece left to do. But when I got the part and cut it out, it had a bunch of ejector pin marks on it. I'll show you here, right there, right there, right there, and right there. So I went ahead and filled them with some Mr. Surfacer 500. Right here, this is what I filled them with. It has sat overnight. So for these top two, I'm just gonna sand them like so to get them nice and flat like this. Alright, and they're basically gone now. When that gets painted, you're not gonna see that. But now with these being inside the detail and all that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get me a cotton swab here, just a regular old cotton swab, and some Tamiya lacquer thinner. This stuff's sometimes hard to find depending on where you live, but for me it was hard to find. I'm going to dip my Q-tip in there, and I'm going to dab some of it off on a paper towel, and then I'm just going to wipe it across there to kind of remove the high spots and just leave what's in the ejector pins on it. So that down like that. There, now I'll dab that off with paper towel, and then now those ejector pins are flush and cleared and good to go. So that piece is now ready for installation. We'll go ahead and install it right now. Just like so. Now I don't know how important it is to fill those ejector pins, but you look inside there if your doors are open, and I feel that you're going to end up seeing it. But when the model is completely built, we'll find out if you actually see them. But just to be safe, I filled them anyways, because that's always the best option you can do. If you're not sure if an ejector pin is going to be seen, go ahead and fill it anyways, and then you'll save yourself the hassle of, seeing it or trying to fill it later after you've painted stuff and all that. So there, that is on there. That is the entryway to the vehicle storage section. We have the elevator in, and that is what we have gotten done yesterday. And we've taken some steps to move on to the next section. I haven't glued this up yet in step 2 because I wanted to work on getting some of this tedious stuff of repetition on the deck, on the main deck, taken care of. So I'll show you that on the upgrade sheet, the details kit. It's these air intake covers right here. it is all these little doors. There's 33 of them, and then there's 2 right there, and then also there's some details that go on here that I'm not sure if you remove the existing details or it says optional. So I'm thinking I'm going to remove what's there and then add that. Sometimes it doesn't tell you what to remove, so you have to kind of figure it out. So, and it doesn't tell you to take any detail off when you're doing these doors, but as I tried to fit the doors with the detail there, you know, here's one of the little doors. I'll try to zoom in so you can see this. As you can see right there is where one of the doors is going to go, right there. And then this is one of the doors. They're just going to sit on there like so with a little bit of super glue. But if you, that's upside down. But if you try to put it on, like this one I haven't removed the detail on yet. If you try to sit it on there with the detail on there, it doesn't sit and it won't glue. So you have to take off a little bit of the top detail. I'm not taking it all the way down to the deck, just because that would be very difficult with all these other little bumps and tie downs and stuff to stop you from knocking the doors, like little guard posts and stuff on these. I don't know if you can see them, but these little sections here, I don't want to take those off, trying to take off these. For the detail, I use these little belt sander, fine detail sanding sticks. They come in many different grits. I have a coarse grit set, which is 80 grit to 240. And then I have a finer set, which is 240 to 500. And there are different colors, so you grab which color you need. These are available on Amazon. They're made in the USA. I believe you can get them from different companies individually, but these are a pack. It comes with extra belts. It comes with 4. Each one of these packs comes with 4, and they are great for taking off detail like this. You can kind of use them like a pencil eraser, and you can just come in here like this and just knock off the detail. You could technically bring them all the way down to flush with the deck, but I'm not going to worry about that. It looks fine. I put some pieces on. I test fitted some pieces without doing that, and it looks good. It looks actually a little bit better raised off the deck, just a smidge. But I want to show you on this one here. I can get my blending board in. Here we go. But this is the 120 grit paper here. I'll try to do this on camera, not get my head in there. But you just basically, and it's getting covered with Photo Etch, so if you rough it up a little bit, that's good. Try not to rough up the deck surface, and then I'll come in here with a 240. No, not that 240. Some of them get a little ragged, and then just smooth it out a little bit. And then now I can glue my deck on there, clean it up with a brush, get all the little bits off of there, and then I have that all ready to go. Go in there with the 182, and or actually I can probably do it with the 240. Pretty easy too. Just gotta make sure you're not taking off any other detail or marring up any other surface, because otherwise then you gotta finish sand everything. But there it is right there. That's done. Look here with my little dusty brush, dust it off. I'll get in there and knock off all those little bits, and then they're ready for doors. Now, like I said, there's 33 doors, or air intake covers. I'm sorry, they're not doors. They're air intake covers. So I have 33 of these to put on. I've discussed in other videos how to cut out Photo Etch and how to put on these doors. So it's not a difficult process. Basically, you cut out your Photo Etch, you take off the little burr thing on it, and then I use one of these Ming gluing stands and a brass toothpick from MIG, and I use, is it out already? No, it's not out. And so far on flat surfaces this small, I use this Instacure Icy Gel. It's coral frag glue. It's from Bob Smith Industries. I have seen these on hobby websites. You can order them, and I have also seen them in my local hobby town. So, this stuff, it's out there. I believe you can get it on Amazon. But I just put a little dab on there. It's nice and thick. It's kind of thick like the Loctite. It's thick like this Loctite Ultra Gel Control, but with this you get 0.414 ounces, 4 grams, and it's the same price as getting 20 grams or 0.7 ounces. So you get 5 times as much for the same price, and it's basically, I've not noticed any difference. This even may be a little bit thicker, but I mean, I used a Loctite. I've had it for a while. I think I bought a multi-pack of like 6, and I still have 4 left. So I still use it, but this stuff has been better for me in the long run. I mean, I've just started using it, but I've glued on all my North Carolina doors with it, and it's been super useful for that. So I get a little bit of the glue on the Q-tip, and then I place it on where I want the door to go. And I hope this goes well because I don't have my OptiVisor on, which I probably should. And then we're going to take this door and we're going to put it on there. Get my tweezers. Make sure it's all lined up the way it goes. Hopefully my head's not in the shot. And we're going to push it down. And then I will proceed to do this 33 times. So 32 more times this will get done. So I'm not going to bore you all with that on camera. I am going to do that off camera and then get back to you with an update on that. I'm going to go back to this camera here so you can see overall my bench. So these are basically all on this one Photo Etch sheet from the Infini Models upgrade kit. Step 1 is done. We have the elevator door in. Now I'm going to work on this deck, and then we're going to go to step 2 after the deck's done, and then we're going to build this section. The white balance is killing me here. We're going to build this step 2 here, and step 3, and possibly step 4. We're going to see what kind of photo etch we need on step 4. So that's what we're going to take care of, and then when we come back in this video, I'm going to make these videos multi-part. You have an intro and then a couple segments of me building, and hopefully you guys like that, and we will take it from there. So I'll be back shortly. Thank you. I just want to pop in with a quick tip on this. If you look at these doors on the Photo Etch fret here, these 219 doors, you see that it's very hard to see on the camera, but they're connected here, 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 and here. But you don't want to cut it flush to the door because it's supposed to have these little pegs sticking out on the side. I'm going to try to bring it in closer so you can see on this one here. You can see that. That's going to be hard to pick up. But if you can see that, there's 4 little connection points. Some of the connection needs to stay because it actually sticks out on the deck as detail, and you can see that as these 2 sections in the middle have a little piece sticking out. So the actual cut point is a smidge off of the actual door itself, and that is, I lost where it was. It is a smidge off of the door itself. So you just need to pay attention how you're cutting them off, and I recommend some highly zoomed things, and you can cut those off and you can keep the detail on the side there. So that's it for this pop in. Hey guys, what's up? I'm going to pop back in here and talk about different ways to glue down these doors. So I have my my deck here, and I've popped off a bunch of doors. It took a little bit of time, let me tell you, make sure they were cut correctly. And in the last segment, or the segment before that, I talked about using this IC gel coral frag glue and putting it on a little weight and putting on with a Q-tip. But if you don't want to go that route and have all that mess and get into all that stuff, you can get your regular bottles of super glue. This is Star Bond multi-purpose medium, and this is a Star Bond multi-purpose medium thick. And on the tip of these, I have application needles. These are not medical needles, these are blunt needles. They come in different sizes, 20 gauge, 30 gauge, and 25 gauge. There's just, it's a variety here. The tiniest one is your 30 gauge. I put that on the thinner CA. The thinner the CA, the smaller the gauge I put on. This is a medium. I also use this for my very thin, if I want to flow into a gap or a crack or something. But if you cut the tip right, you can have them slip right on, and it's like $1.50, $2 for a pack of these. So there's 50 in there, so if they get clogged up, just throw them away. I normally do this if I have a lot to glue. I will slap one of these on a bottle, but if it's just one or two things, I'll do it a different way. So you have that option of doing it. You can also get a bag of these hoses. I call them hoses. These are a little bit cheaper. It's just a little hose tip, and you can put that on. Say you have some Zap glue, Zap-A-Gap. You know, this is Zap-A-Gap's medium CA. You pop that off, get the cap off, slap it on like that, and then you can glue like that. I use these on bigger surfaces, but for tiny things like the doors, I tend to like the little needles, and they fit on my Star Bond bottles very well. But for like Zap-A-Gap, I tend to use these little hose attachments and things like that. And like I said, you can always go back to putting the glue on a bottle cap or anything like your extra thick stuff. You can also try the Gorilla Glue. Has this super glue with this precision applicator. It's not as precise as it's made out to be. It leaks a little bit, and it does put more down than what you need for gluing down like a door or an intake system. You really need a small unit. I don't know if you could put one of these needles on there. Let's see. I haven't tried putting the needles on all the different glue bottles yet, but if you could, yeah, you could, and you could get a little smaller drop out of it. But, you know, if you want to go the Gorilla Glue route, I have my stories about Gorilla Glue, whether it's good or not, and I've had times where it's been fantastic and it's worked great, and I've had times where it's been a nightmare and it wouldn't cure or dry, and stuff didn't stick, and it just made a mess. So I only use Gorilla Glue if the situation calls for it. But other than that, I stick with the Star Bond. I'm a big fan of Star Bond. It does have its issues too, but all in all, it performs very well. Plus, they have a rubber fortified version that is great for gap filling and strengthening bonds, and that works really good. So I have the complete set of Star Bond stuff. So I'm going to zoom in here so you can see me work with one of these little applicators here. Now, this is going to be, I'm going to use the medium on this. This is, I have a medium thick and a medium. I'm going to try to get a little dab of medium on here. My needle may be a little small for this. I might have to switch to the thin. Oh, it's coming out. I just place that on there like so. I am having to squeeze on the bottle. So, but I got the glue. It's exactly where I wanted it. I'm going to wipe off that tip, set it up, and then I'm going to come in here. I'm going to grab my door and hopefully place it right where it goes. Why is it? Okay, now I got to move it place with the tweezers here and stick it down. There we go. So that's that door down. That's with the medium. And now I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna put one on with the dropped it. I want to put one on with this medium thick. My wife uses this stuff for nails, so she likes that. So I'm gonna try it with the medium thick. This has a little bit bigger tip on it because this is a little bit thicker. So I think that smaller tip would be more conducive to the thin, but I can get a little bit on there. See, it's a little bit on there. I'm still going to spread it out with a toothpick though. I could have spread it out with the tip, but I didn't want to gum up my tip too bad. So there we go. Sorry if my head's in the camera, but I want to make sure this is correct. And now here's a good example of the differences between the glues. I'm going to try to come in a little bit more. I want to show this off. With the glue over here that I applied with the toothpick, the thick stuff, that IC gel from Bottle Smith Industries, there's no overflow, there's no seeping out, it's all cleaned up. Even with the medium I applied through that very tiny needle, there's very little overflow over here. But the thicker stuff with the bigger needle, as you can see, I had some overflow with the super glue. So for future, I'd save that for slightly bigger parts. But for now, I'll stick with the medium with the tiny needle. It takes a little bit longer to get the glue out, but I think honestly putting it on with a Q-tip is a great method. Just swabbing it on and then sticking it on. And I'll show you that method again real quick here. Just get a little bit on the Q-tip. See, I got a little bit of the thick glue on there. Is that gonna zoom in? There's a little bit of a glob. I know it's not focused, but I'm going to apply it to here, just where the door is going to go. Wipe it off. You get a little bit more working time with the thicker stuff. It does bite once you stick it down, so I place it lightly, and then I'm able to move it into position. Stick it down and just push it with the Q-tip, the two tweezers, and then there we have another door on there with no glue seepage and things like that. So that's basically different ways to glue on the doors precisely. I mean, you have all the options in the world. You do it however you want to do it. Sometimes I put in some of this medium, or this medium here, or the medium thick. I'll put in a bottle cap like this, and I'll sit it up on an angle with some white putty, you know, like this right here. I'll sit it up on this angle. I'll squirt some in there, and then I'll use an old airbrush needle that's no more good, and I'll dip it in there, and I'll put it on. You can do that with thick stuff. You can do that with thin stuff. You can also use super glue applicators, like a glue looper. Like one of these glue loopers, and that will put it on there. The tiny ones are pretty good. You can also use FlexiFile, has a slightly larger one that works if you're doing a bigger area. I find doing the precise stuff, you just need something very sharp with a point. Now this little setup here came with a bunch of different glue applicators, little Photo Etch glue applicators. I think they're steel, but different sizes, and then they're made to sit along here, so you just grab one and then you can dab your glue and go. But with the thicker stuff, these don't really pick up the glue in a bubble. You need a little thinner stuff for that. So, but I just use this with the brass toothpick. You can use a sewing needle. You can use, you know, whatever pointy thing, or a wooden toothpick and just throw it away. But the brass ones, they tend to last. I can burn off the super glue, and I have 3 of them and it works pretty good. So I'm going to call it for this segment, and when we come back, we should be on the last segment and have this video done. Back in a bit. Thanks. Okay guys, I'm going to wrap up this video here with the end of this. I didn't get quite as far as I would have liked to get, but basically I have all these doors that you see here. On here I have 9 doors left, 10, 11 doors left. I have 2 more cut out, but I have some errands I need to run, and I need to get this video done and out. So this is how far I have gotten. I do need to do some work on this piece here. I have to remove these and add some photo etch, and also the 2 doors on this section, and then we'll go to step 2 and build the rest of the hull. But this piece is done, and that is gonna do it for that. So I'm just going to follow up with my links on social media. You can visit me here. I'll be posting update pictures on Instagram and then tweeting them out on Twitter, so you can check that out there. The links for all these are in the description. And in the future, I will never run ads on my channel. So if you want to support my channel and help the channel grow, you can visit my Patreon page. There's also tool reviews on my Patreon page that you don't have to be a member to see right now. So you can check those out and just leave comments or likes, or just check out the tools that I do there. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much, and everybody, I hope you have a fantastic day.